afternoon and welcome back to Football League World TV. We've got another show for you this afternoon where we're going to be taking a look at two winners and two losers from the EFL action that's just happened in the midweek. My name is Sam Rourke, the Chief Editor of footballleagueworld.co.uk. I'm joined by my colleague as ever on this show, Marcus Ali, to run through the two winners and the two losers. Marcus, how are we this afternoon?
Yeah, really well. Thanks, Sam. Always good to have a round of fixtures from the EFL in midweek, especially after missing out at the weekend as well. So, no, looking forward to reflecting on them in this format this afternoon.
Good stuff. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. So get yourself in the comments. Who were your winners and who were your losers from the EFL over the past few days? We'd love to get your thoughts. As we always do, we're going to start off with the winners. Let's get Marcus's first winner next. Okay, Marcus, who impressed you during this EFL midweek?
So kicking off the show in the Championship with Stoke City, a very capable squad and something of a statement result for me, a 3-0 win away at Hull City. I believe their first win in the league under Alex Neil as well, something that's definitely been in the pipeline, but it has been something of a slow start, some hangover from Michael O'Neill's reign as Neil gets his ideas across. But this was a really confident performance, 2-0 up at half-time, and ended up winning 3-0, of course, and getting the third goal just after the hour mark. So this was a game that was really sort of tied up for Stoke from early on. They won the shot count 13-5 in the first half, really imposed themselves at the MKM Stadium. Lewis Baker with 2 goals and an assist. The first two coming from set pieces, but you know you've got to get in those positions in the first place. I think Matt Ingram will be disappointed from a whole point of view with the second goal. Ben Wilmot heading home, but a really impressive display from Stoke. I think it was almost an even more important time to pick up the win with a difficult trio of fixtures coming up. They go to QPR at the weekend, and then following that is Watford at home and Burnley away. So with the league table looking a little bit concerning from Stoke's point of view heading into this fixture, it was very important that they filled their boots. Lewis Baker, of course, continuing to impress, picking up the armband this season. Definitely one of the best midfielders in the division. And I think the third goal, his second of the night, is one of the nicest goals I've seen all season, to be honest. You've got 3 one-touch passes in between Baker, Liam Delap and Dwight Gale, and then a first-time finish from Baker from outside the area, pinpoint accuracy. So it must have been a really pleasing evening for Neil and showing the promise and signs of the quality that we know Stoke have had and have got in their squad in the last few seasons. But it did seem to all come together in one night. And if it does, then I definitely think they're in a good position to climb the table in the longer term.
Yeah, a fantastic evening for Stoke City at the MKM Stadium. As we said, Lewis Baker in particular, 2 goals and 1 assist for him. Like you say, that third goal was a real pleasure to watch. Let's just touch then on Lewis Baker briefly, Marcus. You know, Stoke strikers have been somewhat goal shy this season so far. Lewis Baker has almost taken on that burden of scoring the goals. Just how crucial and pivotal is he to Stoke in terms of their success this season? Is keeping him fit going to almost dictate how well they do this term?
He's an enormous player for them. They've almost been going on different trajectories. Like Baker's personal trajectory has been going upwards since he joined the club in January, until maybe even this result last night. Stoke were heading the other way. But yeah, he's continued. He's started the season as he left off last term. They do have other players capable of chipping in, but as you say, it's been very important for him to shoulder a part of the creative and goal scoring burden with the strikers not finding their feet just yet. I do see that happening in the coming weeks. If they can put together performances like we saw in midweek, then it's only a matter of time before players of the quality of Delap and Gale start building their goal scored tallies. So yeah, I'm not too concerned in terms of him having to shoulder the burden and potentially being one of Stoke's top scorers come the end of the season, but it has to be a huge positive. And yeah, you really can't let him shoot from range. I'm sure managers will be prioritising that in the coming weeks when they come up against Stoke.
Yeah, absolutely. Lewis Baker getting a whopping 10 rating on Who Scored midweek. Just goes to show what a performance it was from the former Chelsea man. A big win for Stoke, given this Alex Neil's first win in charge. That comes off the back of a disappointing 2-1 defeat against Reading last time out. So Stoke will be very pleased with that result in the week. Let us know your thoughts in the comments on Marcus's selection of Stoke City as one of the winners from the EFL midweek. Right, let's get Marcus's second winner next. Okay, who is your second winner, Marcus?
So the second winner is Fleetwood Town in League One, one of the clubs that has surprised me maybe the most this season. I thought they were quite fortunate to stay up last term after a really poor sort of final few months of the season. But Scott Brown in his first managerial job has them just 2 points off the playoffs at this very early stage. And they sort of shocked the rest of the division with a 1-0 win at Peterborough United in midweek. We've seen how dangerous Peterborough have been, particularly on their home patch so far this season. I think it was 3 wins to 0 heading into their 4th home game of the season against the Cod Army. It's a great strike from Josh Vella to open the scoring on 23 minutes. But what impressed me is how they've restricted Posh after that. Obviously, you're going to sit back. We know the different sort of markets that these two clubs are competing in and where we expect them to finish in the table. But leading for over 70 minutes against a side with the attacking talent and options at Grant McCann's disposal is really impressive for me. They limited them to just 5 shots on target, most of them coming from range. And particularly in the second half, Posh weren't really able to create a chance of note. I think Jack Marriott will probably be a little bit disappointed he didn't find the net in the first half, but in terms of seeing out the game, it was very impressive from Fleetwood. They've got the joint 4th best defensive record in League One so far. Just 7 goals conceded, I think it was, off the top of my head. So, yeah, a really impressive start to life under Scott Brown and a real standout result in terms of some of the, an underdog going to a side that we expect to be battling it out for promotion this season. So, yeah, Fleetwood are the second winner.
Yeah, certainly my standout result from the EFL during the midweek. It has to be said, a real impressive result there for Scott Brown's Fleetwood side. Let's just touch on Fleetwood once more. They have only lost 1 game all season. It's been a remarkable run of form from Fleetwood Town. Can they keep it up, Marcus? Can you see the Cod Army maintain this sort of run of form over the next few months, or will there be bumps in the road?
I think there will be bumps in the road. I can't see them being this difficult to beat for the entire season. But I think you have to point towards a very impressive summer of recruitment on quite a small budget as well. There were some impressive individual signings, the likes of Callum Morton and Brendan Wiradu, I think standout names. But then bringing in late on in the window as well, the likes of Admiral Musque and Carlos Mendes Gomez from Luton Town. Really shrewd pickups that I think a lot of clubs in League One would like to strengthen their squads with players like that. So I can't quite see it continuing, but given the stress and anxiety for almost the whole of last season at Highbury Stadium, this has been a really positive start. And I think potentially, if they can continue the way they're going, they could be looking at competing for a top half finish.
Yeah, worth noting that Posh came into this game having won every single home league game thus far in the campaign. Fleetwood have now changed that statistic. There we go. Marcus opting for Fleetwood Town as his second winner. Stoke City was his first. Let us know your winners from the EFL midweek in the comments. Right, let's move over to the losers from the EFL over the last few days. Okay, who were you not impressed with over the last few days, Marcus?
Borough, the first loser. Middlesbrough, a 3-2 loss at home to Cardiff City. It's just 2 wins from their opening 9, and this was a real first half performance to forget at the Riverside. They would have expected to pick up 3 points against the Bluebirds, who've been struggling in recent weeks and begin climbing the table. 3-0 down at half time, and all 3 goals, you're really scratching your head at some poor defending. The first goal is a lovely pick out from Callum Robinson and a great run from Callum O'Dowda deep inside his own half in behind. I don't know if it's a breakdown in communication between Isaiah Jones and Paddy McNair, but he seems to just sneak in behind without a trace almost, and has the run on the defence, and calmly slots it away. But it's so simple. It's just one pass from the centre of the pitch to completely undo the Borough back line. The second goal was equally as concerning. Johnny Howson, usually so reliable, caught in possession, and Mark Harris fires home from the edge of the box. And the third is pedestrian defending personified for me. Perry and G sort of marauding forward from a right centre-back position, and makes his way sort of in between the 6-yard box and the penalty spot to finish with his left foot, without a Borough defender really getting close to him throughout this run. I have sympathy with Chris Wilder. I don't think he can really control individual errors to that to that extent too much. But a match that they would have been expecting to win going in, and at halftime 3-0 down, it was a real calamity in the end. They come back to only lose it 3-2. Second half couldn't really get any worse than the first. So yeah, a really worrying performance for Borough, particularly with their rear guard.
Yeah, I think that first half performance by Steve Morrison's side would have caught a lot of people off guard. The sheer manner of their ruthlessness was quite impressive, really. Let's just touch on Chris Wilder then, Marcus. You know, you look on Twitter, you look at the hashtag Borough, the Borough hashtag, sorry, and there's lots of worried Middlesbrough fans, lots of fans slowly starting to turn on the former Sheffield United manager. You know, as a result of this sort of poor run of form. What's your stance on Wilder right now? You know, we know what he can do at this level. He is an impressive manager, but right now, you know, it's only 9 points from 9 games so far. They are struggling. Is he the right man for Borough right now?
I do still believe so. It's very hard to come up with the answers at this point, given what we've seen from Wilder in the past. I do think he's got a decent squad at his disposal. Maybe it took a little bit too late in the transfer window to come up with that squad, and they went into the season a little bit underprepared compared to the other sides that they're competing against. But I do still think that Wilder is the right manager to lead them forward. He built up a lot of credit in the second half of last season. He's sort of cashing all that in at the moment. And it does come to a point where it could run out. But I think Rotherham United at home at the weekend is a massive game. The Millers have started the season so well, but in order to put right what went wrong in midweek, that's a match that they're going to have to go in and win. Yeah, I do still have faith with Wilder, although it is thinning when, that they just look so leaky at the back at the moment. It was a really, really puzzling performance. Players that we're used to seeing being so reliable and consistent in their performance levels really dipping. And yeah, it's hard to really point towards why that's happening at the moment. But yeah, his time will run out if they don't pick up shortly. But I do still believe that he's the right person to take them forward.
Yeah, obviously tipped by many before the season kicked off to be in and around the promotion mix. But 9 games into the season, they are languishing in the lower echelons of the championship table. Just one final point on Middlesbrough, Marcus, I want to touch upon is the formation. Lots of Borough fans are a little bit sceptical about the way Chris Wilder is setting up his Borough side. 3-5-1-1 is the way Wilder seems to be operating, mainly with Riley McGree operating just behind Rodrigo Muniz. Lots of question marks about Riley McGree. We saw him score in that game against Sunderland. We've seen flashes of brilliance from him. There does seem to be an element of inconsistency with Riley McGree in particular. Let's just touch on that formation right now. Do you think he does need to tweak it and change it up? Because it doesn't seem to be getting the best out of what players are at his disposal right now, does it?
I agree. I think it's time for a change. I know he's a 3 at the back guy, but he hasn't played that his whole managerial career, so that's potentially an option to look at. And the Riley McGree situation is interesting when he's leaving players like Marcus Force and Duncan Watmore on the bench to go with McGree as a number 10. It's important to remember the Australian wasn't even a first team regular for Birmingham City the whole time he was there. I do think he started the season well. I think if you could look at some of Borough's highest performing players so far, McGree is in that bracket, but it's the players that he's keeping out of the team and how sort of cautious they're looking in that formation at the moment that maybe pushes a decision to be made. I think there's a chance that Wilder is so concerned that there's conceding these goals that he's packing the midfield out and trying to solve that problem. But I think he should maybe fight fire with fire, get two up front, and do what's been so successful for him in the past. Definitely going to be an interesting one to have a look at over the coming weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of Borough fans also calling for Anthony Dijksteel to be handed a start at the back in the next fixture. Right, there we go. Middlesbrough is Marcus's first loser from the last few days in the EFL. Let's get his second one next. Right, final selection then of this show this afternoon. Who is your second loser from the midweek games?
It's West Bromwich Albion. A second 3-2 home defeat for promotion hopefuls, this time Birmingham City, going to the Hawthorns and beating West Brom. It's just one win from 9 championship outings now for the Baggies after building such an impressive squad in the summer. I'd argue it's a top 6 squad as a bare minimum achievement, really. So to have won just one of 9 so far, heading to Norwich away at the weekend as well, could potentially be just one win from 10 to start the season. In terms of Birmingham were very clinical. I think if you play this match 100 times over, it's unlikely they're going to score 3 goals every time. Scott Hogan, one of the performances of his career, but some of defending from the Baggies was really disappointing. They're too open for the first goal. The second goal, I think you hold your hands up. It's a brilliant counter-attack from the Blues. Just 2 touches inside the West Brom half and it's in the back of the net. But the third goal was a really disappointing one. Carl Bartley doesn't get close enough for Hogan and David Button shouldn't be beaten from that angle, really. But so this is more in terms of where it leaves West Brom after losing this match. Obviously 6 draws and just 2 losses, but from where they want to be this season and the lack of credit that Steve Bruce built up in the second half of last season compared to someone in a similar situation like Chris Wilder, it is starting to get a little bit worrying, and that supporters will be sort of prone to turn if this doesn't turn very quickly. John Swift and Grady Diangana could maybe have done a little bit better with late headers, pushing for an equaliser right at the end. But again, Birmingham, where they're expected to be battling out this season, this was a match where the Baggy supporters would have gone in expecting 3 points and hoping to start sort of making amends for what's been a slow start to the campaign.
Yeah, in terms of the West Brom fan reaction, it did seem that David Button and Carl Bartley seem to be the 2 main sort of aims of the sort of displeasure from the Baggies faithful. Carl Bartley in particular enjoyed a bit of a rough night. Steve Bruce commenting after the game, saying that he is a professional and he needs to essentially sort himself out after what was a real dismal display against the Blues. What does need to change at West Bromwich Albion, Marcus, in your opinion? Is there any glaring issues for you that could be sort of resolved that ultimately could bring an element of success to West Brom?
It's hard to say with the transfer window up now. I think in hindsight, they probably would have liked to have signed a goalkeeper. Alex Palmer might get a go in the next few weeks, but given the lack of football that David Button had before being thrust in as the number 1 to win promotion to the Premier League, it does seem like a little bit of a ill-advised choice at this stage. It's going to get tough because of the supporters being against them almost in terms of the results that Steve Bruce hasn't brought to them since entering the dugout, and sometimes the atmosphere can make it even harder to achieve progress even if you're playing okay. So I think that means that it could potentially take a change in the dugout to lift some of the pressure off of the Albion players' shoulders. There's a long way to go still. They can turn it around. They've got the players to turn it around. At times this season, they've put in the performances that showed that they are capable of realising the potential that they have in the squad. But in terms of the atmosphere around the club at the moment, it's looking like it's going to be difficult to turn it around. Especially heading into an away game at Norwich on Saturday. So, it's hard to put your finger on it, to be honest. Lots of players that have succeeded in the Championship before. I think maybe they need some fresh ideas from the touchline to get the best out of him, to be honest.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments on Marcus's selections of Middlesbrough and West Bromwich Albion as his losers from the last few days in the EFL. It was a tough few nights for them both as they both look for promotion this term. Right, well, that brings an end to 2 winners and 2 losers on this Thursday afternoon. We've got some more content coming up on Football League World TV tomorrow. As ever, on Friday, we've got the EFL betting show at 10 o'clock in the morning, and that will be followed quite closely by the EFL weekend preview show. Lots of intriguing EFL action this weekend that we will be analysing and sinking our teeth into. If you're watching this on repeat on YouTube, please do stick a like in below this video and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us. Just a heads up, on Monday, we will, of course, have no content coming out here on Football League World TV. Everyone here at Football League World sends their condolences to the royal family. We are very sad to see her pass. Right, Marcus, thanks for joining me this afternoon. We shall see you all soon.